like to recognize some special guests as well. Ms. Valerie Madison Brown, our VHA Chief Strategy Officer. Please raise your hand so everyone knows who you are. Thank you, Valerie. Dr. Teresa Boyd, your VA Vision 20 Network Director. And Ms. Teal Keltner, our Vision 20 Deputy Network Director, brand new to us. Thank you so much for coming. I also want to do a special thank you to our congressional staff and the staff representatives here today in Seattle. From the offices of Senator Patty Murray, we have Jose Armando Mariscal Cruz for our Seattle Constituent Services Representative. Would you raise your hand if you're in the room, please, sir? Okay, you must be on the phone. Senator Maria Cantwell's office, also we have Will Willis. I didn't see you, Will. Okay, so hopefully you're on the phone. Congresswoman Kim Schreier's office, we have Jose Medina and Kevin Mendez. Do we have either one? Oh, we got both of you gentlemen. They're representing in strength today. Thank you so much for coming. Congressman Derek Kilmer, we have Rebecca Rodriguez, a DOD fellow. Okay, hopefully on the line today. And Congressman Adams-Smith, I know I saw Andrew, and here we got Andrew Hayes, District Representative, and Colleen Besmer, looks like Constituent Services Representative. Thank you for coming as well. And looks like a late addition of Congresswoman Premier Yellowfall. Hopefully I got that right. Premier Figueroa is our Deputy District Director. Raise your hand if you're in. There you go, ma'am. And I'm sorry about the name. You know how I am with that. With me today to provide you with, we hope, is some really valuable information. We also have our esteemed member here, Mr. Josh Jacobs. He's our VA Senior Advisor for Policy Performing the Delegable Duties of the Undersecretary of Benefits. That's quite a long title, so that's pretty exhausting. We also have Mr. Pritz Neveratnasigham. He's our VBA Seattle Executive Director, and he covers quite a few regions. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Chris. Dr. Jesse Markham is our Acting Chief of Staff for VA Puget Sound. And I don't know if Mr. David Puente, Jr. made it here from Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs. We had some traffic issues. I don't understand how that would ever be a problem in Seattle. But he will be here shortly, hopefully sometime afternoon. Along with today's town hall, we'll be partnering with the Veterans Benefits Administration from the Seattle office to host in-person claims clinics today, tomorrow, and Monday at both our Seattle and American Lake campuses. We're a dual campus site, as well as our community-based outpatient clinics in Silverdale, Olympia, and Everett. So that shows the great partnerships we have with VBA, so thank you so much for letting us do that to leverage those strengths. The honoring of our promise to address Comprehensive Toxic Act, or Pact Act, is a historic law that truly expands VA health care and benefits for veterans exposed to burn pits and other toxic substances. There are millions of veterans and survivors across America who are eligible for new health care as a result of this and benefits because of the Pact Act. And we will not rest till every one of them gets what they've earned. That's what the VA Pact Act Week of Action is all about, and our town hall and claims clinics are all about, educating you, our veterans, your families, and survivors, and encouraging you all to apply today. With that, it's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Josh Jacobs, who's a VA Senior Advisor to Policy Performing the Delegable Duties of the Undersecretary of Benefits. If you can say that really quickly, would be good. In this role, he does serve more than 25,000 Veteran Benefits Administration employees in the delivery of non-medical benefits programs. VBA provides disability compensation benefits for nearly 6 million veterans and their families and survivors, and administers pension benefits for over 350,000 benefits and their survivors as well. Through a nationwide network of 56 regional offices, special processing centers at VBA headquarters, he oversees the execution of nearly $135 billion in direct benefits to veterans and their dependents. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Josh Jacobs.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bunt, for that kind introduction. I was told I could keep my remarks as short as my title, so we're going to be here for a while. I want to thank you all for gathering here with us in person, as well as many veterans, family members, caregivers, and survivors who are joining us online and by the phone. This is one of 90-plus events that we're having this week across the country with one goal in mind: to inform veterans and survivors about the new health care and benefits that are available to them. It's an honor to be here with so many wonderful veteran advocates, including folks from our congressional offices, soon to be joined by the Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs, as well as our VSO leaders. We're incredibly grateful for all of the hard work that went into passing this historic law, getting it across the finish line, and for all the work that is yet to come that you're going to help us do to get the word out so that veterans can take advantage of the benefits that they've earned. I also want to thank the many VA employees who are here with us today. They serve veterans and their families incredibly well. They wake up every morning, they go to bed every night focused on the mission, and so I want to thank them for all that they do to help us deliver on the promise of a grateful nation. And most of all, I want to say thank you to the veterans, the families, the caregivers, and the survivors who have joined us today, both for being here as well as for all that you've done for our country. We are, all of us, forever in your debt. You deserve the very best, and we here at VA are never going to settle for doing anything less. We have a lot of speakers here today, so notwithstanding my opening remarks, I'm going to try to keep my words here brief. Really, what I want to talk to you about today is what the Pact Act means for those who served. As many of you know, when veterans served our country overseas, they were exposed to toxic hazards, things like toxic air, radiation, smoke, Agent Orange, burn pits, and other environmental hazards. Years later, those exposures caused many veterans to develop health conditions, which impacted or even took their lives far after the final bullets of war were fired. For too long, many of those veterans and their survivors weren't able to get the toxic exposure-related care and benefits that they needed and that they deserved. But those days are over, thanks to the Pact Act, which the President signed into law in August 10th, and which will allow us to expand health care and benefits for millions of veterans and their survivors, including many Vietnam-era, Gulf War-era, and post-9/11 veterans. And that includes many of you in the room and online today. And that's really what this week of action is all about, making sure that every one of those veterans and survivors, every one of you, gets the care and the benefits you have earned. So to put it simply, if you or a loved one served in the Vietnam era, the Gulf War era, or the post-9/11 era, you very well may be eligible for new or increased care and benefits as a result of this law. So here's what you need to know about the Pact Act. First, we at VA want you to apply for your benefits and care right now. You can do so at the claims clinic if you're in the room. That's being held at VA's Puget Sound in Seattle. Or you can go to American Lake, to Everett, to Olympia, to our Silverdale care sites today, December 15th, tomorrow, December 16th, or on Monday, December 19th. For claims, you can also call VBA at 1-800-827-1000, or you can visit benefits.va.gov/Seattle, and you can make an appointment with one of our counselors. For Puget Sound eligibility and health benefits package requests, you can call 1-800-327-8387 and dial extension 76542. And you can always work with an accredited representative with a Veteran Service Organization or your Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs. If you're already enrolled in VA Care, you're going to receive a quick and easy toxic exposure screening to ensure that you get connected to your claims, registry, and benefits information, and to help answer any questions you may have. I think it's important to note that the screening we are providing is not a requirement to get Pact Act-related benefits, but it is a tool to ensure that veterans and providers are aware of past exposures and that veterans get the information they need. The VA Puget Sound has already started these screenings at routine primary care appointments, and we're going to continue to get the word out and to conduct these screenings so that we can, one, make sure veterans are connected with benefits, but two, we can learn and figure out how we can create new presumptive conditions where and when it's appropriate to do so. Second, VA is going to begin processing most Pact Act-related benefits claims on January 1st. If you apply for Pact Act-related benefits before August 10th of next year, then your benefits will be backdated to the day that bill was signed into law, August 10th, 2022. So it's really important for us to communicate. We want you to apply for your benefits now, before August 10th, 2023. Third, some veterans are worried that applying for Pact Act benefits will impact their current benefits. But here's the truth. If you file a claim, there is a 97% chance that your benefits will either increase or stay the same. Put another way, if you apply for Pact Act benefits, you are 32 times more likely to have your benefits increase or stay the same than to have them decrease. So don't worry, don't wait, please apply today. Fourth, there are many people out there who may try to convince you that you need to pay someone or to use a lawyer to apply for VA benefits. That is simply not true. Applying for Pact Act benefits is free, it's easy, and you can do it by working directly with VA or Veteran Service Organization. And fifth, you can learn more about the Pact Act and apply anytime by visiting our website, va.gov/pact, or by calling 1-800-MyVA-411. That's va.gov/pact or 1-800-MyVA-411. So please don't wait. Please do apply and get the benefits that you have earned. More than 185,000 veterans and survivors have already applied for the Pact Act-related care and benefits since the law was signed on August 10th, including about 4,000 veterans here in Washington State, and we want you to do the same if you haven't already. I promise we at VA will get you the health care and the benefits that you deserve. So in closing, I'll echo something that Secretary McDonough says often. Whenever someone signs up to serve our country in the military, our nation makes them a promise. It's a promise that is as simple as it is fundamental. If you fight for us, we'll fight for you. If you take care of us, we will take care of you. If you serve us, we will serve you when you come home. The thing is, our nation as a whole makes that promise. It's our sacred mission here at VA to keep that promise to the veterans, families, caregivers, and survivors. It's to keep that promise to you. And the Pact Act is going to help us do exactly that. We're not going to rest until every veteran and survivor in Washington State knows about this law, understands what it means for them, and gets the care and benefits that they have earned. Because that's what our country owes. That's what our country owes so many of you, and that's what we will deliver. So thank you all again for coming today to learn about and help us spread the word about the Pact Act, and for your partnership in serving veterans, their families, caregivers, and survivors, as well as they've served our country. With that, I will turn it over back to Dr. Bunt.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jacobs. Next up, we have the VBA Seattle Director, Mr. Pritz Navaratnam. We'll walk you through the Pact Act benefits for veterans exposed to burn pits and other toxic substances. Pritz, the floor is yours.
Okay, good afternoon, and thank you for making it out here or calling in so we can share this very important information about the Pact Act. And what is the Pact Act? It is the Sergeant First Class Keith Robinson honoring our promise to address comprehensive toxic Pact Act. But it is a momentous occasion for our nation's veterans, survivors, and caregivers, as well as for us at VA. The Pact Act is perhaps the largest health care and benefits expansion in history, and it allows us to ensure that we are providing veterans exposed to burn pits and other toxic substances with the benefits they have earned. Between now and January 1st, 2023, just weeks from now, we want to ensure that critical information is distributed to all veterans. And we're very intentional about making sure we get this information out to our veteran community, to include underserved communities. There are approximately about 158,000 veterans in our region here who may be eligible for the Pact Act. So we want to make sure we continue to double down on efforts to get the word out. And as Mr. Jacobs stated during this Pact Act Week of Action, we are getting this information out nationwide and here in Seattle about this historic expansion of benefits. So what is toxic exposure? The Pact Act ensures that we compensate generations of veterans based on toxic exposure to air pollutants, chemical, radiation, warfare agents, and occupational hazards. And there's a slideshow as well that provides this information.
Here.
We could just advance the slide, please. Again. One more time, please. So the Pact Act allows VA to compensate veterans who were in certain areas during specific timeframes and grant service connection on a presumptive basis. Under the Pact Act, there is a presumption of service connection, which means that VA assumes that certain diseases or illnesses can be related to a veteran's military service. So I'd like to share some information about Pact Act for the Vietnam era. Under the Pact Act, there are expanded benefits for veterans who served in the Republic of Vietnam, Thailand, Guam or American Samoa, Laos, Cambodia, and Johnston Atoll. These are locations where there is a presumption of exposure to Agent Orange. So the new Agent Orange conditions for the Vietnam era include monoclonal gammopathy of undetermined significance and high blood pressure hypertension. And as Mr. Jacobs stated, there are many ways in which you can initiate the filing of a claim. You can go to va.gov/disability/how to file a claim. You can call one of our benefits counselors at 1-800-827-1000, or you can visit the VBA regional office closest to you by going to va.gov/benefits/offices. Or you can work with an accredited VSO who will help you for free to file a claim. I'd also like to share information about additional radiation locations. And so this law, the Pact Act, expands eligibility for benefits for veterans who participated in certain nuclear response or cleanup activities and presumes exposure to radiation. And the Pact Act specifically adds three new response efforts to the list of presumptive locations: the Eniwetok Atoll, Palmares, Spain, and Thule, Greenland. The Pact Act also, next slide please, the Pact Act also provides compensation for burn pits and particulate matter. For veterans who served in the Gulf War, August 2nd, 1990, and post 9/11, September 11, 2001, there are over 20 new presumptive conditions based on toxic exposure. And we now consider these cancers to be presumptive conditions. These cancers are brain cancer, glioblastoma, respiratory cancer of any type, gastrointestinal cancer of any type, head cancer, lymphoma, lymphatic cancer, neck cancer, pancreatic cancer, reproductive cancer, kidney cancer, and melanoma. There are also many illnesses that are presumptive under the Pact Act: asthma diagnosed after service, chronic rhinitis, chronic sinusitis, constructive bronchiolitis or obliterative bronchiolitis, emphysema, granulomatosis disease, interstitial lung disease, pleuritis, pulmonary fibrosis, sarcoidosis, chronic bronchitis, and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So you can see by that listing of cancers and illnesses just how broad and sweeping the Pact Act is in the way it compensates veterans who are exposed to burn pits and particulate matter. Finally, I want to make sure that we bring attention to Pact Act scams. We want to protect our veterans and their identity and report fraud at the earliest possible point. And I want to encourage everyone to report any fraudulent activity that you may see to the VA OIG by going to VA OIG hotline at va.gov or calling 1-800-488-8244. So in closing, I want to double down on the comments that Mr. Jacobs said and encourage all veterans to file claims now. Don't wait. VA will start processing claims January 1st, 2023. In fact, we've already started processing some terminally ill cases, and we will make sure we continue to prioritize the cancer claims in line with the President's unity agenda and his call of action to end cancer as we know it. And we want to make sure that we are able to backdate claims back to August 10th, 2022, so please file your claims now. And here at the Seattle VA Regional Office, we stand ready to help any veteran who needs assistance in filing a claim. You can visit us at www.benefits.va.gov/Seattle, and that will enable you to either come in and see us in person or make a virtual appointment to talk to one of our benefits counselors. You can always call the toll-free number at 1-800-827-1000 as well to speak to a benefits counselor. So thank you very much for this opportunity to share information on the Pact Act.
Great information, Fritz. Now Dr. Markman will discuss the healthcare side of the Pact Act. Dr. Markman.
Thank you, Dr. Bunt. Nice to be here. Nice to see you all. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you, and thank you for joining us either in person or virtually. So now that you've gotten an overview on the significance of the Pact Act and the steps to file claims, I want to talk a little bit about the healthcare delivery side of the Act. So we're going to start by talking about the toxic exposure screening, which some people may have heard about, others might not have. This began in November across VA care facilities across the nation, and every enrolled veteran has or will receive an initial toxic exposure screening and a follow-up at least once every 5 years. This is a quick and voluntary process that takes about 5 to 10 minutes, and it can happen as part of a regular or routine healthcare appointment. It documents a variety of exposures. So there are lots of different possible exposures or hazards that service members may have experienced. And this includes, as we heard about, burn pits, airborne hazards, Gulf War-related exposures, Agent Orange, radiation, or exposure to contaminated water at Camp Lejeune. It helps support your long-term claim, right? So this, your long-term care plan, sorry, the screening process. So it aims to make our VA healthcare team aware of any exposures that you've had and allow for ongoing care that ensures an early diagnosis and treatment that may arise as relation to these past exposures. Knowledge of toxic exposures is an important aspect to everybody's care plan, right? So if you have not already, we want you to let us know about your exposures at your next appointment. But I want to be really clear. Oh, sorry.
That's our hand. Take us back there.
Appreciate that. That's it.
I can hear you on that.
Thank you. So it's also important to recognize that your plan of care is individual, right? It's something that you build with your provider, and that will not change. But this knowledge that we want from you will help us build a more appropriate plan. So the screening is really important to connect you to services and make sure that you have information about eligibility or enrollment, about veterans benefits, about veteran service organizations, about registry information, and then to be able to answer any clinical questions that you may have. I want to be really clear that the screening process is not a diagnostic process. Of the screenings that we've completed thus far, we've had a lot of veterans who think that they have to get screened in order to have access to Pact-related benefits, and that's not the case. The screening is a process to ensure that people have information. It's not a process, it's not a gateway for people to get to benefits. So we started this in primary care clinics as part of routine appointments, and we're going to expand it to other clinical locations and other outreach efforts in the future. So a lot of you might ask questions about, well, what if I have questions about current symptoms and how they relate to my exposure, right? So we want you to bring this up at your next routine appointment. If you have new or worsening symptoms or unexplained symptoms, we want you to see someone right away, right? We don't want you to wait. If these are new symptoms that you haven't talked about before, we want to know about that. But if you already have symptoms, and that's something you've already talked about with your provider, that's already a part of your care plan, right? And so we've had a number of veterans who have come in and have said, okay, well, is my care plan going to change because of the screening? Well, if it's something that everybody already knows about, by everybody meaning you and your provider, your care plan probably is not going to change right now, and that's okay. That means that your providers are working with you on your symptoms and your individual plan already. So you can also ask about toxic exposure screening at your next appointment if you have other questions. And if you don't have an upcoming appointment or want to be screened sooner, you can contact your local facility and ask to be screened by your toxic exposure screening navigators. If you're not enrolled, but you meet eligibility requirements to enroll, you'll have the opportunity to receive this screening after you enroll. What's important to know is that if you believe you've been exposed, get your claim to VBA now. You don't need to be enrolled in healthcare to start your claim. So there is no gateway at our sites in preventing you from going directly to VBA to file your claim. And that's probably the most important thing that we want people to be very clear about right now. So we have a team of over 4,500 dedicated healthcare providers and support staff, and we're really committed to you, our veterans and our nation's heroes. So thank you very much for listening, and back to you, Dr. Bunt.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. So thank you, Dr. Martin, and to reinforce what Dr. Martin said, while the toxic screening is a great tool to help you in long-term planning, you do not need one to file a Pact Act claim. I'm told, as I learned last week, that you have to repeat things 5 times in order for people to remember that, and if you're virtual, you have to repeat it 7 times. So we might hear it a few more times during the course of this discussion. I'm going to go ahead and hand things over. Thank you so much for making it, David. Mr. Dave Puente, our Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs Deputy Director. And we'll be discussing the great support they're offering in support of the Pact Act. Mr. Puente.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm happy to be here. A little delayed with that nice I-5 traffic, but I'm here. So just to reintroduce myself, so I am David Puente. I'm the Deputy Director at your Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs. So what I'd like to do first off is start off by saying that I want to say thank you to our VA Puget Sound Healthcare System, our partners, for inviting us to participate today. The VA efforts to ensure veterans are aware and have access to this newly expanded benefits are truly remarkable, and we're excited to be a part of that today. We know the federal VA will be holding clinics to assist veterans as they prepare their disability claims and encourage veterans and families to attend. At the state level, your Washington Department of Veterans Affairs also stands ready to assist veterans and their families to apply for the benefits approved under the Pact Act. With a network of veteran service officers, the network includes state benefit specialists, county veteran service officers, tribal veteran representatives, and nonprofit veteran service organizations partner. The network will also help veterans to enroll in the VA care to ensure they're accessing not only their disability benefits, but their health benefits as well. We know the demand for service officers' time will be great, so I also want to let you know that we're seeking additional funding to expand access to veteran service officers throughout our state budget process. We're hopeful that federal legislation known as the Commitment to Veteran Support and Outreach Act will pass. This measure will provide grant funds to states and expand county and tribal veteran service officers programs. If you have any questions, veterans can contact us through our website, www.vba.wa.gov, or call using our toll-free number, 1-800-562-2308. And we stand ready to work with our federal partners as well throughout the state. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity today.
Thank you, David. Like the VA, the Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs places the needs of our veterans front and center, and is a great resource for not just the veterans, but also their families, so please take advantage of it. That's it today for the presentation portion of this virtual and in-person town hall. Understand there's a lot of information. Just one over the table back there, and you can see this is very important to put this out of this way. We've carved out a good amount of time for questions, so we want to take advantage of that. So I'm going to go ahead and hand things back over to Tammy right now to tell us our next steps.
Thanks, Dr. Bunt, and thanks to all of our fabulous presenters. Hopefully that was some good information for the people here in Seattle, as well as the 13,918 people on the phone with us. So thank you for joining us virtually. As a reminder, we are going to start our Q&A. So for our phone listeners, just press *3 to ask a question. And I will start with, we did this to try for the people here in Seattle to bring our online participants on audio so you can hear their questions. This is all in text. So I got Michael. Michael, you're on the phone. You're live. Ready for your question. Michael, you there? You're live with us. Great.
My name is Michael Fitz. Are you speaking to me?
Go ahead and ask your question, Michael.
My question is whether or not this is relative to Camp Lejeune and water contaminated. And I guess the question's been answered.
Yes, we can have Mr. Josh Jacobs answer that, and we'll have a microphone here too, sir.
Yeah, hi, this is Josh Jacobs. So VA has established presumptive service connections for veterans who served in Camp Lejeune and were impacted by exposure to the contaminated water. If you serve there and have not filed a benefit, we'd ask you to do so, and you can contact us or directly or work with an accredited representative of VSO. If you're like anyone in this country and you've turned on the TV, opened up your email, or browsed social media, you've undoubtedly been bombarded with advertising about a provision that was in the Pact Act called the Camp Lejeune Justice Act. And what it does is it allows veterans, family members, to sue the government for impacts to their health and well-being as a result of the contaminated water. That is separate and distinct. That is not a VA-related matter. But there are some VA-associated impacts that I think are important to know about if you decide to pursue justice through the court system. One is, if you're successful and you receive an award from the court as a result of one of these lawsuits, VA is not going to do anything to your benefits. We are not going to adjust your benefits. However, the court is required to offset from the total award that they provide the total dollar value of any benefits you are receiving. So in addition to any lawyer's fees that may get reduced from the total award, the court will also calculate some fee, some monetary value that they deem to value for the benefits you're receiving as a result of Camp Lejeune. And that could be both VA benefits, and that could be healthcare as well. We don't have insight into how exactly they're going to do that. That is something that the court is going to have to do. But it is, I think, an important piece of information. So as you are considering whether to pursue legal action and work with one of the attorneys that is advertising, it's important information. We do have a handout that can explain that. It can get quite complicated quite quickly, so we can follow up and provide more information if that's helpful as well.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs.
And next we have Roger from Lacey. Roger, are you there? You're live and you can ask your question. Roger?
Yeah, I'm here.
You can ask. Okay, wonderful. The microphone is yours.
Reference Desert Storm. I think they hinted already that we are eligible under Desert Storm veterans to be part of this Pact Act as far as the oil fields burning and the burn pits and items like that. That is my question I was going to ask.
Yes, sir. We can take that question. The answer to is yes, it is. It fits perfectly within the confines of this Pact. I'm not going to, Category 1, I think, is what, or Category 2 this falls into, Chris.
Okay.
I want to know that piece of it.
Thank you for the question, and it is associated with the list of cancers and largely respiratory illnesses that are presumed to be as a result of exposure to burn pits and particulate matter. So, in response to the question, that period of service does qualify under the Pact Act.
Thank you, sir, for the question.
We have you live. You can ask your question.
Hello, you are talking to me?
Yes, you are projecting to 1,100 or 11,000 people. So the microphone is yours.
Okay, here's my question. My husband is Perry Adams, and he is a Blue Water Navy a veteran who was exposed to Agent Orange on the battleships, aircraft carriers. And he developed multiple myeloma in 2015. And of course, they had denied all multiple myeloma to Blue Water Navy until well after that. So he was not encouraged to apply by his VA veteran representatives and managed to get a stem cell transplant. He's now in remission, but he applied again recently for the multiple myeloma and was denied, first because they couldn't find the proximity, which he verified for them, and then because they said his multiple myeloma occurred too long after Vietnam. Will this act change that process?
Yes, ma'am. If this before the Pact Act in August of this year kicked off. I could explain that delay, but that is definitely one that fits within our categories, and we highly recommend that you refile your claim, and we can walk you through those processes.
Okay, and then the other question is, he is now in remission, but as you know, multiple myeloma is incurable. Do we have to wait until he comes out of remission to apply?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Josh. Maybe if there's a way to get personal contact information without sharing it with the world, we can follow up.
That would be great. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
We'll definitely circle back to you. We have some questions in the room. Do we want to take one?
We can take one from the room for sure.
Okay.
We've got hundreds of people in queue of the 11,000 online, so we need to balance it out for sure. Good morning, my name is Shanda Burns, and I say I'm retired. First of all, may I just say thank you. I'm so grateful that the Department of Veterans Affairs, even though I knew eventually you would come through and do this for us. So even though I retired as an Army nurse, I was a military police officer for 10 years, I was diagnosed with sarcoidosis, and you guys really came through for me. And that is because of my experience at Fort McClellan. We all know now about the chemical school. So just as an advocate for our disabled veterans, I just want to say I know that we've come a long way. We have a very long way to go. But as a representative of the military police, I just want to say keep on keeping on. We really need to be encouraged to know that there is hope. And as a product of the Department of Veterans Affairs, no pun intended, and ambassador for the Million Veterans Program, I just want to say I believe in what the VA does. I believe in the Department of Research and Development. So sister and brother warriors out there, caregivers and family members, please continue to have faith, because I know your day is coming. Stay strong.
Thank you, Ms. Boyd.
I appreciate, first of all, thank you for your service, and thank you for encouraging other veterans to come forward. I think one of the really incredible elements of this law is that it not only establishes more than 20 new presumptive service conditions, but it provides a start for us to do more. And in order for us to do more, we need to move forward with the research, but we also need to get more data. And one of the ways that we get more data is through the toxic exposure screening process. It's through the toxic exposure registry. It's about making sure that your friends, your loved ones come forward to share information that's going to help the broader community. We know that some veterans don't apply for benefits because they say other people earned it, they got it far worse than I do. And what we want to tell them is, not only have you earned it and do you deserve it, but by coming in, you're not only helping yourself, you're not only helping your family, but you're helping your brother and sisters in arms, because the information you share with us gives us a greater insight into information we need to potentially make the case to establish new presumptive service connections. So if you have a friend, if you have a loved one who's on the fence about coming in, please encourage them to do so and let them know it's going to help other veterans.
Thank you, Mr. James.
And of course, I'm encountering technical difficulties again, so I'm going to read one of the questions that one of our online callers has, and it's from George. George, sorry I can't bring you live. For some reason, the system is frozen. Your question was, will applying change my rating? I'm 100% unemployable and 100% disabled. And he's from the Vietnam-era Desert Storm timeframe.
George, I'm going to hand that question on over to Mr. Nebraska.
Yeah, we want to encourage all veterans to file claims, and 97% of the time when you file a claim, you will have your claim increased or will stay the same. It's a very rare exception where VA will have to reduce a rating. And a rating will only get reduced if there's sustained improvement. So the message I would have to George would be to file your claim and not be impacted by the concern that VA is going to be re-adjudicating your current service-connected condition.
And we're back live now. Andrew, your time to ask your question. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome.
I apologize if you've already answered this in the briefing earlier, but I don't currently have any symptoms. I'm still relatively young. I'm only 35, but I did serve in Afghanistan and was exposed to burn pits on both of my tours. Would I benefit at all from applying for the Pact Act now, or is this just for veterans with current symptoms?
So you can apply for the Pact Act now. That would be the preferred course of action, so that then you can have an evaluation by your provider. Now, I'll offer it up to Dr. Markin if you have any other follow-up comments to that. Oh, okay. Thank you for your question.
David, are you online? You're able to ask your question. I'm going to go to another person. David, happy to take your call by email. We're giving you a call. Yes, that's fine.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Barbara Ellington, and I served in the Vietnam era. And I was wondering, because you've talked about all these that are overseas and stuff, but what about us that were exposed, like at Fort McClellan? while we were there, and it's a home base other than Camp Lejeune type thing. So, I mean, I was exposed there, and the board closed a few years after I was there. So is that covered, or the whole, you know, if you're exposed to contaminants here in the States?
I'm going to have to. Superfund site as well, okay.
So the short answer is those sites are not included in the law. But I mentioned earlier that we've got a new presumptive decision-making process where we can take research that we have that has been conducted by some of our academic partners and that exists more broadly with the interagency, so getting information from the Department of Defense, the services, et cetera. And Fort McClellan is on the list of places that we are looking to conduct as part of that presumptive decision-making process to determine if we can make a new presumptive service condition for the health conditions that we are hearing about from a number of veterans who served. We're looking at it with Red Hill, and there are a number of other domestic locations. So the law, the Pact Act does not give us the authority to create presumptive service connections. If you file a claim, we can work to try to establish a direct service connection, which, as you know, is more time-intensive and more difficult to do. But we are actively working with some of our medical experts and our VBA experts to work through this process.
So go ahead and file.
If you have a service condition that you think is related to your service there, I would say please do file. And then we are also looking, I mentioned, coming forward with information is important for us because we need, in addition to the research and peer-reviewed evidence, we're leveraging VA data that exists not only in our health records, but in the information we receive for claims. And so we're leveraging all of that to help us establish an evidence base that we can then use to make the case that we have enough information to move forward and establish a new presumptive service condition. And that obviously makes it a lot easier for our claims processors to grant benefits than it is when we have to kind of establish a nexus and demonstrate that your service caused it. So please come forward, file it. We can't do a presumptive service connection now, but we're actively working through the process to determine if we can make it easier moving forward.
Thank you for your question.
And we're going to our online callers for the next one. And Malcolm, if you're ready,
Yep.
You can ask your question now.
Am I on live?
You sure are.
Okay. I was asking about, I know these are presumptive. I was also I was supposed to be contacted about Camisea, where we blew up munitions, and we were too close, and we can't keep vehicles back. And I just wonder if there's anything about that in there. That's from Desert Storm.
May I also please repeat the question?
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, so I think the question was, what about Camisea? So there's exposure to the oil fields and other contaminants. So if you served in the Gulf War, if you served after August 2nd, 1990, and you have one of the conditions included as a presumptive in the Pact Act, you will potentially be eligible for benefits. So we need to demonstrate that you served, so we find the evidence in your records, and two, that you've been diagnosed with one of those conditions, and then you submit it to us, and we can provide benefits. So that's the long answer. The short answer is yes, Camisea is covered.
Thank you, Malcolm, for the question.
And for our next question, we're going to turn to you, Dan. Are you available for us?
Today, I'd also like to recognize some special guests as well. Ms. Valerie Madison Brown, our VHA Chief Strategy Officer. Please raise your hand so everyone knows who you are. Thank you, Valerie. Dr. Teresa Boyd, your VA Vision 20 Network Director. And Ms. Teal Kepner, our Vision 20 Deputy Network Director, brand new to us. Thank you so much for coming. I also want to do a special thank you to our congressional staff and the staff representatives here today in Seattle. From the offices of Senator Patty Murray, we have Jose Armando Mariscal Cruz for our Seattle Constituent Services Representative. Would you raise your hand if you're in the room, please, sir? Okay, you must be on the phone. Senator Maria Cantwell's office, also we have Will Willis. I didn't see you, Will. Okay, so hopefully you're on the phone. Congresswoman Kim Schreier's office, we have Jose Medina and Kevin Mendez. Do we have either one? Oh, we got both of you gentlemen. They're representing in strength today. Thank you so much for coming. Congressman Derek Kilmer, we have Rebecca Rodriguez, a DOD fellow. Okay, hopefully on the line today. And Congressman Adams, I know I saw Andrew, and we got Andrew Hayes, District Representative, and Colleen Besmer, looks like Constituent Services Representative. Thank you for coming as well. And looks like a late addition of Congresswoman Premier Yellowfall. Hopefully I got that right. Premier Figueroa is our Deputy District Director. Raise your hand if you're in. There you go, ma'am. And I'm sorry about the name. You know how I am with that. With me today to provide you with, we hope, is some really valuable information. We also have our esteemed member here, Mr. Josh Jacobs. He's our VA Senior Advisor for Policy, Performing the Delegable Duties of the Undersecretary of Benefits. That's quite a long title, so that's pretty exhausting. We also have Mr. Pritz Neveratnasingam. He's our VBA Seattle Executive Director, and it covers quite a few regions. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Pritz. Dr. Jesse Markham is our Acting Chief of Staff for VA Puget Sound. And I don't know if Mr. David Puente, Jr. made it here from Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs. We had some traffic issues. I don't understand how that would ever be a problem in Seattle. But he will be here shortly, hopefully sometime afternoon. Along with today's town hall, we'll be partnering with the Veterans Benefits Administration from the Seattle office to host in-person claims clinics today. tomorrow, and Monday at both our Seattle and American Lake campuses. We're a dual campus site, as well as our community-based outpatient clinics in Silverdale, Olympia, and Everett. So that shows the great partnerships we have with VBA, so thank you so much for letting us do that to leverage those strengths. The honoring of our promise to address Comprehensive Toxic Act, or Pact Act, is a historic law that truly expands VA health care and benefits for veterans exposed to burn pits and other toxic substances. There are millions of veterans and survivors across America who are eligible for new health care as a result of this and benefits because of the Pact Act. And we will not rest till every one of them gets what they've earned. That's what the VA Pact Act Week of Action is all about, and our town hall and claims clinics are all about, educating you, our veterans, your families, and survivors, and encouraging you all to apply today. With that, it's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Josh Jacobs, who's a VA Senior Advisor to Policy performing the delegate duties of the Undersecretary of Benefits. If you can say that really quickly, would be good. In this role, he does serve more than 25,000 Veteran Benefits Administration employees in the delivery of non-medical benefits programs. VBA provides disability compensation benefits for nearly 6 million veterans and their families and survivors, and administers pension benefits for over 350,000 benefits and their survivors as well. Through a nationwide network of 56 regional offices, special processing centers at VBA headquarters, he oversees the execution of nearly $135 billion in direct benefits to veterans and their dependents. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Josh Jacobs.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bunt, for that kind introduction. I was told I could keep my remarks as short as my title, so we're going to be here for a while. I want to thank you all for gathering here with us in person, as well as many veterans, family members, caregivers, and survivors who are joining us online and by the phone. This is one of 90-plus events that we're having this week across the country with one goal in mind: to inform veterans and survivors about the new health care and benefits that are available to them. It's an honor to be here with so many wonderful veteran advocates, including folks from our congressional offices, soon to be joined by the Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs, as well as our VSO leaders. We're incredibly grateful for all of the hard work that went into passing this historic law, getting it across the finish line, and for all the work that is yet to come that you're going to help us do to get the word out so that veterans can take advantage of the benefits that they've earned. I also want to thank the many VA employees who are here with us today. They serve veterans and their families incredibly well. They wake up every morning, they go to bed every night focused on the mission, and so I want to thank them for all that they do to help us deliver on the promise of a grateful nation. And most of all, I want to say thank you to the veterans, the families, the caregivers, and the survivors who have joined us today, both for being here as well as for all that you've done for our country. We are, all of us, forever in your debt. You deserve the very best, and we here at VA are never going to settle for doing anything less. We have a lot of speakers here today, so notwithstanding my opening remarks, I'm going to try to keep my words here brief. Really, what I want to talk to you about today is what the Pact Act means for those who served. As many of you know, when veterans served our country overseas, they were exposed to toxic hazards, things like toxic air, radiation, smoke, Agent Orange, burn pits, and other environmental hazards. Years later, those exposures caused many veterans to develop health conditions, which impacted or even took their lives far after the final bullets of war were fired. For too long, many of those veterans and their survivors weren't able to get the toxic exposure-related care and benefits that they needed and that they deserved. But those days are over, thanks to the Pact Act, which the President signed into law in August 10th, and which will allow us to expand health care and benefits for millions of veterans and their survivors, including many Vietnam-era, Gulf War-era, and post-9/11 veterans. And that includes many of you in the room and online today. And that's really what this week of action is all about, making sure that every one of those veterans and survivors, every one of you, gets the care and the benefits you have earned. So to put it simply, if you or a loved one served in the Vietnam era, the Gulf War era, or the post-9/11 era, you very well may be eligible for new or increased care and benefits as a result of this law. So here's what you need to know about the Pact Act. First, we at VA want you to apply for your benefits and care right now. You can do so at the claims clinic if you're in the room. That's being held at VA's Puget Sound in Seattle. Or you can go to American Lake, to Everett, to Olympia, to our Silverdale care sites today, December 15th, tomorrow, December 16th, or on Monday, December 19th. For claims, you can also call VBA at 1-800-827-1000, or you can visit benefits.va.gov/Seattle, and you can make an appointment with one of our counselors. For Puget Sound eligibility and health